Good afternoon or good evening or good morning. You're potentially watching this while doing your steps or cardio or fasted cardio or literally just whatever. But I kind of just wanted to come on here and maybe address, or not really address, because I'm not really addressing anything that I need to kind of put out, but at the same time I feel it is something that is maybe overlooked, misunderstood, or maybe took the wrong way, or maybe you just need a little bit of an insight or a little bit more kind of guidance on something like this. And it is literally just the kind of reality behind an off season within bodybuilding, or even a gaining phase within bodybuilding, or even outside of bodybuilding. Now, I got quite a few questions regarding pretty much the exact same thing, and it was just a case of how far should you take your off season? Should you only be looking for this amount of weight every single week or every single month? Should you only be looking for this amount of body fat? Am I only allowed to put this amount of body fat on? Can I lean bulk? What's the best way to lean bulk? Like, they all kind of fall into the exact same thing, and it all leads back to pretty much one answer, and there is literally no best way to form a gaining phase. There is no optimal amount of weight that you should be gaining every single week. There is no optimal amount of body fat that you should be putting on every single month within your gaining phase. We really just want to be keeping ourselves in the most favourable position with performance outside of the gym. How do you feel in general? How is your cardiovascular system? We really want to be looking more so into these side of things. Now, the only part that I feel a lot of people don't really like to take into consideration too much regarding an off season, regarding a gaining phase, a surplus, is the body fat that comes along with it. Now, you could say it's unfortunate, but at the same time, you always need to take into consideration that it is always a good thing. It's not a bad thing that you are going to gain body fat. It is a good thing because you are going to be much healthier. You're going to be feeling much more energized. Reality is you're going to be performing better. There's lots of things that come into play that is going to be so much more beneficial for you, that is going to come from the body fat side of things. Now, this is something that I always have to kind of drill into my clients that don't maybe like the kind of side of putting on a little bit extra body fat. What I'll also do is I'll stick a few pictures of obviously me deep into my off season right now. Like, bearing in mind I am closing in on, I think, between kind of 13 and 14 months of my off season. Now, that is a long time. I'm also bearing in mind I have not mini cut. I have not dieted at any point. We did pull our calories back just when a lot of things were going on, obviously to do with the Arnold Classic and FitX, all the BNBF shows. There was a lot of travelling happening, and not that I couldn't get access to good food. It was just more so hard to get access to the amount of food that I was eating at that time. So what we did was we kind of just pulled food back a little bit, and then we were still in a surplus. Just a very, very small one, which meant we were able to kind of hold our weight more than anything else. There was a few fluctuations up and down, but nothing too major. So bearing in mind I am kind of 13, 14, moving into my 15th month of my off season, very deep. A lot of food is being consumed, fat has been gained, but at the same time, what I also need to make sure and put out there is the fact that progression has been made, not just to my physique, but to my general moods every single day. My cardiovascular system is still very much up there. I'm sleeping very good. My appetite's not shit. I'm actually still able to eat that amount of food, although I am ready to diet now. I am still able to eat that amount of food. In the gym, progression is through the roof. I'm pulling numbers that I've never pulled in my life. Sets, I'm completing sets I've never done in my whole entire life. Like, you're forever taking all-time PBs here. And now, that's the thing. Whenever you're putting on that extra body fat, you always have to take these things into consideration. The look, for example, I'm building more muscle. Because of my performance in the gym, because it's going through the roof, I'm improving my physique. Now, that is obviously going to be one of the biggest goals for me as a bodybuilder, for you as a bodybuilder, or even if you just are a general gym goer that wants to build muscle. The reality is, a lean bulk is fine, but you also have to take into consideration, even if you are going to lean bulk, body fat is going to come on eventually. Now, I would never, ever, ever recommend jumping into a gaining phase for 2 years and treating it as a lean bulk, because the reality is, the progression that you've made in 2 years trying to stay lean whilst trying to get bigger, somebody's probably made that progression in 6 months. Now, to me anyway, there's nothing worse than knowing that somebody's made the exact same progress that I've made in 2 years in 6 months. Now, this is something I always had to take into consideration because I was a seasonal competitor up until last year. I competed every single season from when I started. That just meant that I competed in my contest prep season. I would then obviously transition to my off season. That lasted around kind of 5-6 months if I was lucky before I was back into prep. So 5-6 months, I had to take the absolute most from that 5-6 months that I possibly could. That meant pushing food up straight away. That meant getting healthy as soon as I fucking could. That meant getting training back to where, not even where it was, but where it had to be and further as soon as possible. Now, that's hard, especially when you don't have that much time. So if you think about somebody that can make that amount of progression in 6 months and you're trying to make that progression within 2 years just because you're trying your hardest to stay lean, is it really worth it? Reality is it's not going to be worth it whenever you get back on stage, and not that much has changed, because if you think about it, that person that made them improvements in 6 months could potentially make 4 times the improvements that you've made in 2 years. Now, again, it's quite a frequency game at the end of the day as well, because you need to always make sure that you are obviously putting everything into an off season. That's always going to be the goal. The goal is always to improve. Now, the only unfortunate part of that, and the biggest part that does come along with it, is you aren't going to be able to stay in shape throughout an off season. It's never going to be, and by shape I mean contest prep shape. I don't mean out of shape, very fat, big massive beer belly, can't notice a single thing. I don't mean that out of shape. I mean, if you do get that out of shape, reality is you might still make progression, but you are going to have to diet for a lot longer. And don't get me wrong, I do know a couple of people that have actually not necessarily proved anybody wrong, but have proved themselves right with regards to being able to diet for a very long period of time and still come back with major improvements. But that is not what I would recommend. I would obviously recommend putting body fat on, and like I said, obviously I've attached a few pictures already to this video that you will be able to see that I have gained quite a bit of fat. Obviously for me, for example, quite a bit of fat goes around the midsection, the waist for that. Saying I do actually still have visible abs, but at the same time they aren't visible to the point of they're very blocky and you can very much touch them and they'll be very visible and blocky abs. I do obviously have visible abs, but I still do carry quite a lot of body fat. But the biggest thing I'm always taking into consideration is I'm improving. This is what I need to do. I don't ever have a problem dieting. That's never going to be the case. If I have to diet for an extra 4 weeks on top of a full contest prep, I will diet for an extra 4 weeks on top of a full contest prep. But I'm always just remembering that part of this is what I need to do to improve. And this is the unfortunate harsh reality behind an off season. You are going to gain body fat and things aren't going to look aesthetically pleasing. You're potentially going to drop a few likes on Instagram. Now that is obviously something that not a lot of people like. If they're not able to upload a freaky cool picture that's got veins popping, lines everywhere, very aesthetically pleasing, if they're not able to upload things like that on a daily basis and get the amount of likes that they want, then they're probably going to try and stay in shape throughout an off season. And the unfortunate part of that is it just leads to no improvements, next to no improvements. And that is something that I really want everybody to take into consideration, is whenever you move into a gaining phase, the most biggest part of a gaining phase in an off season is to improve. You're not doing anything else apart from improving. You're getting better, you're becoming better mentally, you're becoming better physically, you're becoming better at every single stage of your journey. And to not take absolutely everything from that just baffles me to the point of, why are you doing it? Do you really want it that much if you're not willing to put everything into an off season and take what you really need to be taken from it? Now, there's so many positives and so many negatives to an off season, and to be honest with you, the only negatives are the part that you maybe don't like in terms of the look. Again, you could get to a certain point where it could become hard to put food in. It could become hard to keep eating similar things on a daily basis, as that doesn't really change. You don't really get the part of, you get a lot of variety, but you don't really get the part of being able to only eat this today and not tomorrow, and then eat this today and potentially eat it tomorrow and not the next day. You don't really get that. You still have to consume pretty much the same food choices. It just maybe so happens that you will be taking in the same food choices as what you do on prep, just quite a bit more of it. Now, that is really the only kind of downfall of an off season. You do have to eat a lot more of it. It could get to the point where your appetite could go down the drain. And obviously aesthetically pleasing, you don't look the best. You won't ever look in the mirror in your off season and go, you won't be filled with satisfaction. That's really the only thing that I'm going to say. You will be able to maybe sometimes look in and go, no, fuck, I actually am looking bigger, I'm looking much fuller, I'm looking like I've improved. Now that is obviously going to be a very good thing, but compared to a contest prep, you won't be able to look in the mirror and see new lines every day. You won't be able to be veiny as hell in the gym, because there's just going to be that little bit extra support above the joints. It's just going to be body fat, and you are going to carry it throughout an off season. Now, just if there's one thing that I would recommend, and this is more so maybe dedicated towards the younger generation, or even maybe people that have been in it a few years or just haven't competed, but more so towards the younger generation that would really like to stay lean throughout the full off season and be able to upload these lean pictures and be able to lean bulk and just, yeah, this is really mainly aimed towards that. It's just, please do not hold back with food. Do not hold back with food. Energize your body with food. Put good food into your system. Train hard, and I can guarantee you won't get out of shape fat. I think that's what mainly people are very much concerned of, is just putting fat on and becoming out of shape and everything just going down the drain. That is not what happens. You do have to put on body fat. That is the reality behind an off season. You do have to put on body fat. But if you're putting in good food and you are training like a demon, you are sleeping, you're eating a lot of very good food. Don't get me wrong, there's always time for treats, right? But you don't have to just choose all of your food choices from shitty foods because your calories are a little bit higher than what they were on a diet. You can eat lots of good food. You can obviously put on body fat, but you are going to put on a substantial amount of tissue, which is going to be obviously very good tissue. You're not going to get too fat. You're not going to get out of shape fat. You're going to be training hard. You're going to be giving out calories. It is going to be a good ending. There's always going to be a good ending, especially if you nail every single variable that you need to nail. Don't have the fear of putting body fat on. Don't have the fear of getting a little bit out of lean shape throughout the off season, because that's where you're going to make the biggest improvements. And again, just to kind of bring a little bit of an informative video to YouTube, because I don't feel I bring enough of this, and to be honest with you, sometimes maybe these videos can help, especially the younger generation that will watch these videos. If this can help you guys, then I really do hope that it does. Then obviously that is me box ticking again and being able to help somebody that's going to be watching these videos. But I think the reality behind an off season is not a lot of people like to put on body fat, because everybody's always asking a question regarding how can I optimize my off season and not put on body fat, or how can I improve but stay lean, get bigger but stay lean. And it's gonna have a worse off impact on your performance, a worse off impact on your physique if you're trying your hardest to find all these little bits to stay lean and not put on that much body fat, or still have very visible abs that you can post a lean picture on Instagram. It's just going to hold you back. But I'm not going to ramble on much further, guys, because I do see that that's coming up to 13 minutes and I don't want to keep you guys waiting and just rambling on about an off season. So that's really going to be it. Small update on myself. I am coming to the very end of my off season. Prep will be happening for me very soon. I think maybe February or March time. Obviously we will be looking more so into the food side of things. So it is getting exciting. I am ready to diet. Like I said, I've been in my off season now for so fucking long, and I'm just ready to diet. And I think it's got to that point where I'm still fine eating all my food, but I am ready for a pull back in food. And I know that obviously I've kind of made them improvements. I know that training's at the best it's ever been, but I'm just kind of getting to that point now where the food is still going in, but I'm just ready to maybe pull back a little bit and obviously get straight into a contest prep phase. So obviously I'll keep you guys updated with absolutely everything with regards to shows and things like that. Everybody knows that I am competing at the back end of 2022, September, October time, and then I have just had clarification that we will be heading out to the Caymans on November the 5th, I believe it is. I've nearly forgot the date already, but I think it's November the 5th. So again, massive year ahead. Of course, I'm going to keep YouTube updated. I'm going to keep you guys updated. I really want to try and bring as many videos and as much content as possible. We are moving very soon as well, which again, I'm going to keep you guys updated. We'll do a full move video. We'll do absolutely everything. I'm just gonna try my best to bring absolutely everything to YouTube. But yeah, that is really going to be it. No more rambling on. I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, then please do not forget to drop the video a like for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video.